Hi ladies, welcome to our last section 2.7 video. And what we're going to be doing in this video is we're actually going to take our first two videos and bring them together into one, which means we're going to be comparing fractions and decimals together. So when we compare a mixture of fractions and decimals, what we need to have is we need to get the numbers into the same type of number, meaning all the numbers are decimals or all the numbers are fractions. Again, we can get a good approximation if we're looking at the numbers without converting them, but to really get down to the fine points of who's larger than who, they all have to be the same type of number. Usually people pick decimals because converting everything to fractions requires the extra step of then getting the common denominator. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to get all of our numbers into decimal form, and then we're going to compare them from there. So our example is that we brought in boxes of cereal to look at the sugar content per serving, and we have 4 different brands and 4 different amounts of sugar per serving. Brand A has 4.67 grams, brand B 4 1/5 grams, brand C 4.34 repeating grams, and brand D 4 3/8 grams. Recall what we learned in section 2.6, and that is to change a fraction to a decimal, we divide. And we do that by placing the top number, the numerator, in the box, and the denominator outside, and using long division. So the first brand that we're going to take and convert to a decimal is 4 1/5. So my numerator goes in, my denominator goes out, add yourself a decimal, and a couple zeros. And then we use long division. 5 doesn't go into 1. 5 goes into 10 twice. 5 times 2 is 10, and then I go and subtract. Oh, and I get a 0 already, and I like to call that my happy 0 because I am done dividing. I don't need to go to the end of this decimal because I added those zeros myself. So that means 4 1/5 is the decimal 4.2. The second fraction that I need to convert is 4 3/8. Again, I take my numerator, goes inside, denominator out, add that decimal and a couple zeros. So 8 doesn't go into 3. 8 goes into 30 4 times. Nope, that's too big. 8 goes into 30 3 times. 3 times 8 is 24. And now when we subtract 34 and 20, we get 6. So we don't get that remainder of 0, which means we have to keep dividing. Bring down another 0. 8 goes into 60 7 times, and 7 times 8 is 56. Again, we're going to subtract. We get a 4, not a remainder of 0. Bring down another 0. 8 goes into 40 twice, or I'm sorry, 5 times. 5 times 8 is 40. And there it is. There's my happy 0. I'm done dividing. So 4 3/8 is 4.375. The only last thing I would do is take a look at my repeating decimal and make sure I remembered what he looked like if I did not have him in bar notation, if I did not have that decimal in bar notation. So now that we have all of our numbers in decimal format, we can either compare them using the decimal method of comparison, which means to line up all the decimal points and see where the place values differ. Or you can also bring in the fraction or the negative comparison strategy, which is to compare them on a number line. So I'm actually going to put them on a number line and see how that works. So brand A is at 4.67 grams, so 4.5, 4.6, 4.67 is right around there. Brand B is our 4 1/5, which we said was 4.2. So 4, 4.1, 4.2, exactly on that line. Brand C was at 4.34 repeating, and so that would be 4.343434. So 4.1, 4.2, 4.34, right around there. And brand D is 4 3/8, which we just said was 4.375. So we have to be very careful because we're at 4.3, but 4.375 is slightly to the right of 4.34 repeating. And then once we have our numbers on the number line, we can look at them from left to right and write their comparison that way. So our smallest number is 4.2, which is 4 1/5. Then our 4.34 repeating. Next up is 4 3/8. And finally, the cereal with the largest amount of sugar per serving is brand A with 4.67 grams. So there you have it, ladies. We put both our fraction and decimal comparison ideas together into one. I have 2 questions for you to complete in your note sheet, and then, of course, go to Haiku and also take the survey. Thank you so much for joining me for this pencast. I am eager to hear some feedback from you, and so you will also have a couple feedback questions for me.